If I had to choose, I would still choose you. After all the things society has told you to imbue, somehow your light has been able to shine through. The power resides within divine feminine, not only in women, but also in men. The balance obtained here is what will light our feet on the path to come. It is the strength that we keep near that will allow our spirits to hold steadfast and not succumb. The energy of love, of life, of all creation. The spark of light in the womb that combusts, evolves into a nation. The divine feminine, the power held so dearly. The divine feminine, the scope that allows us to see one humanity again so clearly. The power that we hold, the sparkling in our eyes, how our self and inner beauty unfold in the truth seen beyond the disguise. Oh, you are divine, Mother Nature. Mother Earth, I am thankful daily for all of the miracles that you birth. When I sit and I truly ponder the things that I'm grateful for, my heart does not wander. Because I know truth, and truth is love. If you live through understanding of self, then nothing comes above. When you understand your oneness with nature and all else that surrounds, you stop being disturbed by all of the external sounds. You realize the silence within yourself. You understand the meaning of true wealth. It is your health. Everything you intake then becomes part of your body, your temple, your physical self. Understand that the keys to your kingdom again lie within yourself. With all of this, we must remember there is nothing here with which we are not members. We must honor and respect the environment as ourselves because we are directly impacted by everything we output, and that equates to our health. Kindness, love, grace. Allow heaven to become embodiment, much more than a place. And when things seem difficult, you are able to face, because through your divine feminine, you will recall your righteousness that cannot be replaced. And now, high-level conversations with 19 Keys.
I'm 19 Keys, and this is high-level conversation. Tap in with the God. Peace, family. 19 Keys tapping in with you. A whole nother high-level conversation. Today we have very esteemed, special, sacred guest on here with very powerful divine timing, because we are in a time where we are lacking so much of ourselves and our connection to higher source and higher divinity. And today's guests directly, I believe, have a message and have a history in correlation with reconnecting people back to that divine source. Specifically, last episode, we had True Masculinity with Mike Rashid. And I wanted to be able to bring a balance to that conversation, speaking on true femininity, right? Divine femininity, sacred femininity, womb intelligence, you understand me? The divine womb, the sacred womb, and none other than the esteemed Queen Afua, who has a best-selling book that I believe almost everybody has either heard of or they have. You understand me? And this is a book that I believe has helped millions of women and men around the world by getting information from, a source that connects them back to ancient culture, an ancient knowledge, an ancient source, right? And I believe that in today's age, we dissect everything and we deconstruct everything without putting something better in its place. We are a very destructive society and generation today. So that reconnection, I believe, is the exact lifeline that we need to become full, breathing human beings again, in connection with our masculine and divine feminine. So I have none other than Queen Afua here. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And not only that, we have her gangster, vegan, you understand me, musical, you understand me, genius, bodybuilding, divine, masculine son here, you understand me, in his own right, Supa Nova Slom. But this brother deserves a separate introduction. And the reason that I asked both of them to be here is because not only that it's necessary to see the queen, right, in her full aesthetic, but her son, you understand me, who is a king in his own right, and it's a family, right? And to have a lineage of healers, right, and have a lineage of reconnectors, I think is probably one of the most powerful things that I can see in modern time, in modern day. You understand me? Because oftentimes healers have not healed their family. You understand me? And so I think that is a direct reference that as a mother, as a queen, she knows what she's doing. And for a son to be able to take that guidance, because I believe that my mother was always right, I just didn't always listen. You understand me? And the world is under-mothered. It's under-fathered.
Wow.
You understand me? And I think that the remothering and the refathering of society replaces all that we've been missing in our genetics and our DNA, and that begins the healing process. So I want to thank you all for being here.
Oh, we're delighted.
United. It's a blessing, family. Salam.
Thank you. Thank
Salute.
you so much.
So man, let's get into it. Here we have conversations. You understand me? And these conversations are meant to be high level. And anything of sacred and divinity is high level. You understand me? And a lot of the world talks about things of material possession, even when they speak on the masculine or the feminine side. But I want to start with asking you a question about what is sacredness first?
Sacredness is the oneness with the divine that is ever present through every breath, every thought, every movement, every coming and going. The purpose of connecting or just announcing what's already inside of us, it empowers us. It allows us to get a reset, to get a renewal, to purge the domination, the suppression that has happened to our people. This is a new beginning for many of us, and it takes so many of the women coming in, because the women birth, we carry, we conceive, we carry, and we bring life into the world. And what I've watched and observed, that depending on the frequency of the woman, whether she's in her sacred zone or conscious, because we're sacred by birth, but if she's aware of the connection of the Most High within her through every single step of her life, when she becomes aware of that, then she gets a chance to birth greatness.
You said announcing, and I think that was powerful. What is that process of announcing, right, that sacredness within you, announcing that God, that giant within you?
Well, it brings me to the prayer that sacred women speak. I say, sacred women in the making, sacred women reawaken. And I'm talking about the first mother of civilization. Because when we awake, then we birth everyone, everything around us. So then we must sit on our seat. And our seat is our throne. And our throne is in our ucha. That sitting on the seat means that your mind is elevated, that your heart is healed in the spirit of Ma'at, that you get a chance to birth your purpose through Meshkinet, that you come into the light of Mother Newt, who's over the entire planet on a cosmological level. So as we begin to come into our rightful place as the melanin woman, as the first mother, then everyone in the world begins to shift. That's why I said we can heal the world.
You know, there's a beautiful movement of enlightenment of women across the planet Earth, you know, finding themselves, seating themselves, announcing themselves to the world to take up space, you understand me, and to take rights, right? But there's something different when you talk about the black woman, you know, for a black woman to announce herself and to awaken herself. It's not just a woman, but a black woman. You understand me? And I think that there's such a powerful reference in not just getting lost in I am a woman, but I am a black woman, because that is a recognition of source. You understand me? That is a recognition of her own DNA and what exists within her, and also the responsibility that she's held to hold up the world and to produce the world, because the world has come through her womb. So I believe that within itself, that announcing first that, yes, you are a woman, but you are a black woman, you understand me, is an activation that I think a lot of women may be missing today. You understand me? And partially because of the intersection, but I think that separation is key of defining who we are, to be able to see ourselves first. Before we do intermingling with anybody else, we have to see who we are first.
Right.
You understand me? Therefore, you know who and what you fit into, right? And so I wanted to ask you about that. Like, do you find that important that a black woman specifically announces or recognizes that she is a black woman, you understand me, as well as recognizing she is a woman, or the ambiguity of I'm just a woman is enough?
No, it's not enough, because we set the tone. The black woman, the first mother, she sets the tone. She created everything. Everything came out of her. So then how do we follow the daughters? The mother has to be the one that the children will follow. Since she's the first of civilization and everything, I bring it to holistic health of now. Holistic health is not something that is new age. Holistic health is ancient. It is from antiquity. To study and to gather our body members in Sacred Woman, I would say, so where did aromatherapy come from? That's African natural lifestyle. That's our culture. Where did hydrotherapy, polarity, energy work, where was it born? It's African natural lifestyle. Nature, the elemental healings, air, fire, water, earth, all that medicine is African natural lifestyle. Fasting, cleansing, yoga practice, meditation, affirmations, all that is African natural lifestyle. It predates all the way back in the beginning. So who were these women? They were me. They're us. So if we are following the daughters, we don't follow the ones came behind us as the mothers. The mothers set the tone, and then the daughters get a chance to rebirth themselves. And I see it in real time. When mothers are angry or upset about their children, I said, stop focusing on the outside of you. Focus on the inner plane of you. And as you begin to remake yourself, renew yourself, follow your cultural holistic healing, then you become reborn. And then when you speak to your children and you live that path, they will elevate because of you. So we really are setting the tone for women around the planet to heal, because they're all in bondage. The women are not lifted up. The women are the primary healers of the home. It's been flipped. We are the doctors of our home. We are the medicine women of our home. And so when a woman taps into nature's medicine and she begins to heal herself, automatically she's going to heal her mate. And he's going to be elevated. Automatically she's going to heal and restore her children. Automatically, as she heals her womb, then she births children on the highest frequency. And every thought she thinks comes on the highest frequency. So we can't, it's been flip-flop. So we lost our power. So the goal of Sacred Women is to get your power back. So where is the power? The power is from inside. But what is inside? Right now, it's madness. It's other people's culture. That is why we have broken families and broken homes and broken hearts and incest and rape. Well, we were stolen. First, they stole our culture. Someone comes to your house, They like your house because your house is so divine, and then they want to move into your house. Next thing you know, they've taken over your house. Next thing you got to run out your own house. They burn your libraries. They try to hide all your power, but you walk with it. So you're getting ready to go to Kemet, and I'm thinking about that. When you go, you're going to say, "Oh, so this is all me. Yeah. This is the whole world is coming to witness me and my power." And they're going to look on the walls, and they're going to look at you, and they're going to get confused. The people that come from around the world, they're going to say, "Wait a minute, that's the power. Oh, he's the one." When we brought 60 women to Kemet through Tahuti Films, and there were 10 women on the land. I say on the land because we are the originators of the land, the African women. And they came around us in a circle. They said, "Who are they?" Started to sing to us. And the men were like looking like, "What's happening here? Are they taking over our land?" "No, we're not taking over your land. This is our land, but we are the land." We walk in the power. Wherever we go in the world, when you pick yourself up based on your culture, then you're listed as a woman, no matter what your spiritual house is. See, sacred women also is a unifying factor. My father was a Garveyite. And my father would say, what's wrong with the black people? We're not unified. If we can unify, then we can overcome insurmountable odds. My father was also an entrepreneur. He had his own business. So I followed his path, and his path helped me to walk in the power that I am in. And my mother, she nursed it. My mother supported my father. My father supported the family. And so they raised me up in that, and my brothers. So I saw power. I saw undeniable power in the bloodline. And when I look at the women, I see the women are not feeling their power because they didn't have the mother and the father as an example of the power. And because of the 400 years of chattel slavery, we were designed to be slaves forever. And now they have the modern slavery, and now we're in prison. So you have the new age slavery. Right. It's still slavery and bondage. And so it is to come out of the slave state, out of the disempowerment, to tap into your sacred power, not yours, but the creator that's in you, the Most High that's in you, is giving you the breath and giving you the life force to do major transformation for yourself and all your family and your community. So sacredness is about waking up the healer, that she can heal herself. She doesn't have to have a hysterectomy. That's unnecessary, and that is crazy because that's the end of our people with the hysterectomies. She doesn't have to have a fibroid tumor because she's angry, hurt, and enraged, and through all the racism in every area of our lives. So we're imbibing it, and we're eating it. It's in our dead food, our GMO food, our processed food. So I show them, all the women, all the ways to regain your power, to regain your strength. And not to be fighting against each other, but to be in harmony with your power. So, so that's a sacred journey.
That was beautiful. I almost bought another book. That was beautiful right there, boy. So, as I'm listening, I think you kind of architected an energy of an idea of sacredness. And I start thinking about how, women sort of despise the idea of being in the house nowadays, right? But in the concept that you are in the house with the family, because I think a lot of women be in the house nowadays, but especially on social media, just be in the house doing nothing, looking good. But when it comes to building a family, there's a despisal of playing any type of role in constructing a family, right? And so, but the way you constructed it made me think about how the production of the house is creating this base of sacredness and this temple and this energetic place where things are being healed and birthed and manufactured. And I think because the science of that is lost of how to create a temple inside the house, that a person may feel like it's a cage, right? When it really is like your base. Like the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, the woman's place is not in the home, that's her base. That's not her place, it's her base. That's where she runs everything else. Right? If she's the healer, that's where she's creating the herbs, right? The people knocking on the house, asking mama in the neighborhood, like, do you have this, that, or the third? That's where she has her education, she has her spiritual temple, she has her oil, she has all of these different things where she's manufacturing gods walking out that house. She's manufacturing healed, she's manufacturing geniuses and a multitude of different things. So that house represents something different. But in today's time, that house represents a cell. You understand me? And so Women
That's
are
the
afraid to
European
be women.
consciousness. It's a cave. It's a cave for many, but it's not a cave for African minds and African spirit. A house is Nebuchadnezzar. My inner name, I'm Queen Afua Mut, Mother Nebuchadnezzar, the lady of the house, the lady of the heavenly realm. That's what the house is. The house structure, there is a door. At the door is a feather. And the feather is about balancing the heart on the scales of Ma'at. So in that house, that is what you're to receive. Inside of that house, there is a bowl that looks like a window, but that represents the tit. In that house, you're going to be nourished. You're going to be fortified. Above the house, there is another bowl, and that bowl has a wave of water on it. In that house, you'll be purified. She is the lady of the house because in order to have a house, a home that is divine, powerful, a house of medicine, that you have to become that medicine within your own body temple is the house. So wherever I go is my home. So the whole world is my home, actually. And wherever I am placed to do my work, my house begins.
Right.
So we just continue the home. So in that purification, liberation to purification, when you clean up your house, your mind in your house, your thoughts in your house, your heart and your past relationships in your house, your medicine, your food, you won't let, when I first got into as a teenager, I got my small place, home, and I said, after I got rid of my asthma, my allergies, my hay fever, my PMS, and a list of fast food, toxic living and eating, poisoning my house. And when I realized that there was a way out of this, and I got out of it in the house, I got it through the healing baths. I got out of my sick house. I got it through the foods that I was eating. I got out of my lungs returned back to me. In my house, I was able to do my movement, my yoga, and my meditation in my house. And so wherever I go, I now teach women how to reclaim their home. Their house is a wellness center. There's a doctor, I don't recall her name right now, but she is the doctor over the whole establishment. She came in with President Obama, and she said that a home, healing is not only done in hospitals, in clinics, that healing is done in the home and spiritual houses.
Right.
So when we shift that, then all the power of medicine comes back to the home. The biggest income for America and for all so-called modern worlds is medicine. What happens when we turn the medicine inside the house? Then we don't have high blood pressure anymore. Our men are not dying from prostate cancer. We're not fighting in the home because we know how to quell and calm the spirit through the foods and the juices and the herbs and the teas, all of that, and the healing baths and the prayers and the meditation. The women's sacrament, they know all of that. When they go through their journey, they know what that house is supposed to be. And each room in that house is consecrated, blessed, and charged up so they know how to work their clinic, their hospital, and their home. From the kitchen is the kitchen is your healing laboratory. So you know soup, salads, juices, teas, dressings, everything is the medicine now. Every time somebody opens their mouth and eat, they're getting their blood clean. They're getting their kidneys repaired. They're getting their minds right because she knows what to do. In that house, there is not the bathroom, but the hydrotherapy room. Because the normal bathroom, you just drop. But what are you doing in that bathroom that's going to get you in your right mind and purge yourself? Our ancestors, we had baths. We would go into spiritual baths, and the symbol of the bath was right by the bath in Kemet was Khepera, the sign for transformation. So in that water, when you're conscious, and you know what that water does? It takes away the pain, the trauma, the suffering, the hurt, the lack, the limitations, and you get a chance to allow that water to now restore your inner waters. Your 75-80% of water now becomes flushed and cleansed. So now you come to your right mind. Now you know where the power dwells. The power is from inside of you. And in that bath, you get a chance to connect. You come out that bath, then you have a waterfall in your hydrotherapy room. That waterfall, that's the water, that's the purging. We can transmute anything. So now in the shower, clearing up our first eye so we can be in our right mind, not in our crazy mind, not in our vindictive mind, not in our stressed out mind. We let that waterfall go into our heart and clean up all those relationships that we're just having these serial killers inside of our own psyche. And we start to wash and cleanse so we have healthy relationships going forward.
Right.
And in that water, you cleanse the wound because the cysts, the tumors, and all of that is physical, emotional, psychological abuse from the system that we have eaten, that we're drinking, in our intimacy that we bring in that house, and that water's coming on your spine, getting your nervous system back so you're not stressing and you're not anxious, even in these times. Matter of fact, you're not stressing in these times, especially because you have the information and the knowledge in that house. So go to that home and make it a real home, make it a healing home, make it a healing clinic. And when your family is, you look at your family, you say, oh, you have all these issues? I know just what to do.
Right.
Here's your teas, here's your juice, here's your bath, here's your prayers, here's your meditation, and they'll get it even if they don't want it, if they're in your house. It can be just put a pot of cinnamon on a pot, and everybody's fighting, put that on, the whole goes through the whole house and purifies.
If a man meets a woman, what kind of tea is the sacred woman making?
Well, it depends on the case. Well, it depends on the case. If he's not if he's stressed out and angry and quick, and you make a chamomile, hops, valerian.
Calm him down.
And just calm him right on down. And matter of fact, if he don't want to drink it, put it in his bath. If he don't want to take a bath, because men don't want to take a bath in the beginning until they get right, then you put it in the aromatherapy.
Yeah.
He's going to get the medicine. That's all you have to know. Or if he's not going to take it that way, then put it around his pillow in the form of oils. He's going to get it in his dream world. Or if in your house, you got to get your house right.
See, now, that gets me to something, because when you talk about home, you gave two concepts of the home, right? The body being a home, and then the physical layer outside the home. I always tell people, you know, I can travel anywhere because I'm not an animal. You understand me? I don't live in a cage. My home is I can never run away from home because this is my home. You understand me? So wherever I'm at home, right? But it gave me a concept of an idea that there's a lot of men that can be with a woman, right? But they can still be homeless because she's not a home. You understand me? And then there's a lot of men nowadays, you know, the running joke is that, you know, a lot of guys are hobosexuals. You know, hobosexual is somebody who's in a relationship for a house. You understand me? A place to stay. So they homeless. But at the same time, it's like when you see a relationship nowadays that if it's so shallow that neither one of them are homes for the other. You understand me? So they never feel a place of comfort, a place of relaxation, right? And I know that probably one of the most powerful things is being able to be relaxed, right? Because in that relaxed state is where we start to heal. You understand me? It's like, you know, people like to cuddle because that's relaxation. Those are endorphins, that's comfort, that's protection. But oftentimes in society, we always feeling defensive. We always feeling that other people can see us. They can see our hurt, our harm, our trauma, our shadow self, right? And so relationships, I think, and I want to go back to this idea about mothering and fathering. I want to ask you a question too, Supa. Because when we talk about a sacred relationship, right? And if I'm a man that meets a sacred woman, what does that connection look like? And I see that you have a beautiful relationship going. So to you as a man, right? And enveloping these principles and this knowledge, you know, what does a sacred relationship look like as far as a man's duty and a woman's duty within that relationship?
Well, beloved brother, thank you for the question. So, me and my beloved, we're both on task, life task. And see, in order for a relationship means exactly that, relay and ship, to move, right? So you have to be moving. And the question becomes, where you moving to, right? So in the initial courting of a partnership, is when you seed the garden of conscience, you start to really climatize to one another. But then it requires you to feed and build and both tend to the garden. Now, there's a third thing that happens in a relationship when the two come together. There's another body that's created called the union, right? So the union must be fed, right? And the union not is only fed by how the women and men are loving each other and doing the task to feed the union, but it's his commitment to himself upon the time he attracted the magnetism of the relationship and her continue to do her work. Because somewhere in their development, they were doing something to magnetize to each other. What happens in relationships, we get so caught up in the romanticization of the exchange that we forget initially what was necessary for that spark to be continued to be cultivated. And so I find that what works with me and my beloved is that she is on her life path and task. And then I come in and I support her on her vision and her ministry in the world and how she does her vibrational work. And the balance on that side is, me working on myself and helping to create a pathway for brothers to create a culture of men doing his own healing work. Then in turn she supports me. So I find that the production of us pouring into each other's task, it fortifies the union. That is not me and you, right? So the union is fed energetically and spiritually. And so when her ego was there or my ego was there, we fought out of harmony, out of ma'at. The union has enough cachet, enough stored up energy to remind us of why we're here, remind us why we're on task, remind us why we're relating and shipping and where we're moving to.
Right, a higher purpose.
Ashe, yeah.
And I think
Was that clear?
No, that's
okay,
very clear. I think the higher purpose aspect, I think, is key because I think connections are very shallow nowadays. And that, love is not enough to keep people together. You understand me? I think there has to be a vision, there has to be faith, there has to be something that connects you because love has different peaks and valleys, right?
So I want to add this to you, beloved. You're going to Kemet in a few days.
Yeah.
Our ancestors, the Cometian ancestors, had a glyph for love. They called it myrrh. Unlike the Greek Greco-Romans who shaped it into a heart, which we all energetically support now, their glyph or hieroglyph for myrrh was a plow. And if you understand what a plow is what you need to tend to your garden, to be cultivators.
Yeah.
Right? So if I love my brother 19 Keys, I'm loving him in the symbol of cultivating,
Right.
of shifting. If he says, brother, we're going to shift now, high level conversations. The plow in our interaction will be the tool that we use and remind each other why we are high level activators and why we're doing the shifting. So it's part of, it's a part of, like Queen said earlier about, women being an example of the home, and you mentioned about relationships and peaks and valleys. If we can remember that we have to be working men and women for ourselves and with each other, right? And we like, I'm a cultivator, you're a cultivator, and we're coming together to expand or make abundant. And our cultivation is like how you work with the brothers in investing. Like you have a vision, brothers will put you onto this cryptocurrency, they come in, they put their plow in, they put a little something in, you teach them how to plow their area digitally, they build other ones, and then you'll create in manifestation the symbology of what love really is. It's just in a different manifestation.
You said something that I think was key, just the symbolism of love, right? Because, specifically, now globally, but specifically Western, that symbol of a heart makes people only think of love in connection to emotion. You understand me? As a feeling. And so there's no connection between the logic of love, you understand me, or the thought process from that crown, that higher thought process. So people only activate love from here. And so when this is not being fed from an emotional level, then the love is gone because that's how you've defined it. But when it's a duty, then you think about all the other parts that need to be tended to as well in order for this to actually be a love connection.
Come on.
So I think the symbolism of love has probably sold us the wrong idea. Through movies and Disney and all of these different things. Like if you got the concepts of love through entertainment, you understand me, then you're trying to entertain yourself through love by the time you get into it. Because you're looking for Prince Charming, you're looking for these fairy tale stories that don't exist. Because love can be war, love can be peace. You understand me? But what keeps the people together through that? You understand me? That thread right there is love. That duty that each person has to each other.
That work.
The cultural responsibility that you have, whatever you're building. It's like you can be building something and then a person get tired and say, I'm done. And it's like, no, we still got to get this done, but I don't feel like it. Well, damn, it wasn't about whether you love to do it. Like we got a duty, right? And so when it's a family or it's nation building, it's a much bigger duty than how you may feel this week or at this moment. Right? But at the same time, both of y'all sparked the thought to think about the aspect of, I always taught that Islam is mathematics, mathematics is Islam. And it's just about a way of life of living righteously. And, two people come together, right? They say 1 + 1 = 2, right? And I think that's when you have two people that are working just as individuals. Because when two individuals come together, it's just two. But when you're working together to build something, 1 + 1 = 3, right? In the family model, right? And so each relationship has to be producing a third entity in order for me to see it as like a powerful, productive relationship.
Right.
Otherwise, it's just two people coming in together to just energize each other to be the same, right? But what is it producing?
What's it producing?
Because men and women come together to produce something.
Right.
Right? Like we are born functionally and biologically to work in service of each other that produces something when we come together, right? Whether it's sexually, spiritually, whether it's financially, we're creating something. And I think that's probably the lost art, is that men and women come together and they only think about each other and how they are in service of each other, but not what they're building. And what you build are gonna hold that connection much stronger than it's just you.
Yeah.
Because now you're like, nah, I got too much to lose. I can't do this. I got to do this, that, and the third. We building this whole empire over here.
Absolutely.
That's the responsibility. But I want to dial down for a second and talk about Ma'at. I think society, right, like, you know, most people, they be on the 48 laws of power. They ain't on the 42 laws of Ma'at. And I think that's chiefly probably one of the bigger issues, especially in Western thought society, is that, you know, the 48 laws of power is about chaos, violence, control, power itself, you know, and power is corrupted. You understand me? When men and women get power, especially that are immature and not divine and submitting themselves to something of higher, it's gonna corrupt them each and every time, and they're not doing it for the right intent. But the Ma'at, that's truth, order, and balance.
Absolutely.
Right? And so can you give us a brief explanation on, number one, what is Ma'at, right? And how did you find the Ma'at law?
As you were talking, I just saw the line, which is the scale. And so Ma'at is all about the love. It's all about the heart. A whole civilization was based on that principle, Ma'at, a feminine principle. And so on one side of the scale is the heart, and the other side is a feather. So to let you know that every day your heart has become light. So envy, jealousy, backstabbing, we have to purge our heart. And you have to do it every day. And that's the judgment. So they let you know that you're being judged every day. Are you in Ma'at?
Right.
Are you in Ma'at in the morning, in the rising, and then after the day is done? So you have to say, I have not, or I will not. And then at the end of the day, you say, I have not. That's your check and balance. So it's like every day throughout the day, you have to come into Ma'at. So what are you doing that's throwing you out of alignment? What are you doing that's throwing you out of truth? Righteousness. That's love. Harmony. When you hurt someone, you steal from them, you take from them, you throw them out of balance, you're out of balance, so you're hurting the heart. When we want to get back at someone, we're hurting our heart of our own people. So we have to learn how to balance our hearts out.
Right.
Holistic health is about that. Natural healing, dealing with the elements of nature, balances you out. So if we stay in nature, which is inter, it's another way of saying the divine, the Most High, is inter, divine. So if we stay in nature, if we stay in that harmony, our hearts become light. That's why fasting is so important. In all the spiritual houses, fasting is the primary way of balancing yourself out, balancing out your heart, having forgiveness, helping your sister, your brother. It's through healing of that heart, cleaning up that blood. So it's all about the balance, and that is the heart healing.
This episode is brought to you by Gold Water. So I want to start somewhere new real quick about baby mamas and baby fathers. You know what I'm saying? I think this is equivalent to terrorism in our community. You understand me? Mental, spiritual, you understand me? Emotional terrorism on a daily basis. And I want to see if we can get to a basis of trying to figure out what are some of the solutions between solving the issues of anger, you understand me, that exist between mothers and fathers today, baby mothers and fathers today. You understand me? That tear them from being a family. Like somewhere right now, there's a young mother who hates her baby daddy. You understand me? And she relies on the system to try to get back at him, right? And then somewhere there's a baby father who hates his baby mother. You understand me? For the same exact reasons. And when they get together, they're always clawing at each other. They're angry, they're yelling. He calls her bees, she curses him out, the whole nine. So where does the repairment of those who are not particularly a family in the sense where they have order and structure and they're in the same home, but they share a child, you understand me? Which means they have a connection that's forever, but their relationship is severed.
What is missing is the rites of passage has been destroyed.
Absolutely.
The rites of passage is to happen to make you a whole man and a whole woman from age 13 to 16. So I'm teaching women who are 20, 30, 50, 60, and 70 years old, and the same for Man Heal Thyself Wellness Warriors. And because they missed that whole piece. So in that process of missing your training how to be a whole man or whole woman, then you get married because you're out of your right mind, or you end up going from woman to woman or man to man because you're looking for yourself, you're looking for your peace, you're looking for your hope, you're looking, but you're not finding. And you're literally in the wilderness of your own soul. So right now, through the teachings, I have witnessed the teachings of Sacred Woman. Sacred Woman has been going on for 35 years plus. Man Heal Thyself has really happened about 9, 10 years.
Right.
But Supa Nova Slom, my son, I said, the man book, we have this book together, Man Heal Thyself.
There you go.
Yeah, man, okay.
I share.
Right, and him and his spiritual cousin,
Okay.
Hallelujah, my dearest friend, Queen Afua's son, we said we had to birth them. We actually had to be in sync 35, 40 years ago as sisters for not the struggle, but for the victory of our people. And they were raised as little children together. And so, Man Heal Thyself, I've witnessed the women, being in Sacred Women, they fall off. They fall off if the man is not healing. That could be their mate, their father, their son, they're falling off. But now that Man Heal Thyself is in place, the women are now getting more empowered. The men are now getting more empowered. Because many of them were coming to divorce, and that was their last call. And when you become a whole woman, and you take time to heal your condition, yourself, your body, mind, your spirit, forgive your mother's 7 generations back, and move forward, and then the man is doing the same thing, now they come together on purpose, empowered, cleaned up, not enraged from their past, but feeling empowered, becoming entrepreneurs, making their own money, being creative. All of that together now, we're building healthy families. I just had a session just last Sunday, and a woman was crying her heart, was broken. She said, I cursed my children out. We're talking about using the word as medicine, word is power. And she said, okay, please, my children, forgive me for yelling, for cursing, for being mad, for my past relationships. She started to cry and just weep. And then the husband showed up. He just came out of the room. This is on, in class, we're visually seeing it, all 100 of us. And he goes to hug her. I said, hug her in front of us. Hug her and embrace her for all the mothers and all the wives who don't have it, so that we can get a vision. And he kissed her, he hugged her. And then he moved away, and she just cried and wept more, and he just consoled her, because he's also Man Heal Thyself. And under him was his baby. There was a baby, their baby was under him. That baby is now healing just because they're healing, because they have reunited on the highest level, that they have been able to forgive their mothers and their fathers on the journey. Because if stolen people, all we can do is forgive our people for whatever has happened. Because how could we even think and stand? We are left for dead. It's only going to resurrection through ourselves. So healing through the rites of passage. I have seen miracles happen within holistic miracles and natural. When you know who you are as a woman and you know who you are as a man, then all you can do is birth healthy relationships. We won't have to break down. We just have nothing but breakthroughs now.
Well, a lot of men, just general, I mean, our brothers and then global men have not had the culture of valuing themselves on an internal level. Manhood is based upon what we can accumulate and what we can compete and dominate with and get. So our relationship with that mentality, growing from a child to a grown man, you're now competing to have the best of whatever is outside of you. And so you create a culture and a cadence based upon the best woman, the raise your children in the best, and these are all great tenets, right? But so many men, even who have been blessed to have the financial abundance, internally though, when you look, a lot of them have a lot of addictions they're dealing with, and you're like, well, how come you are hurting? You seem like you got everything, because society says man's power is external. And so we see women, regardless of them having many baby daddies or many kids or many jobs, they make time for self-care. And this is why Circle Women has worked with moms for so long, because what's beautiful about it, it brings sisters from all tribes. You know, our Islamic family, our Hebrew Israelite family, our Kemetic family, our Buddhist family, they all come, the sisters come together to do the healing work. What happens is that women are leading that signal. So with the Man Heal Thyself Rites of Passage, the vision is to, regardless of what brother is social, politically, economically, to give him the encouraging tools internally, because he don't have to simp outside of himself. The woman outside of himself is a compliment to the God he is. Unless he can begin to go back and heal that 5-year-old, the 7-year-old, the 10-year-old that may have been disappointed, let go, abused, raped, molested, or even in a family household, and the parents may have not been in harmony. He's told to not cry, not show emotion, be quiet about it, but to pursue the external version of what manhood is, which is good too, because remember, internal, external. But when you're only doing the external pursuit and you don't have that internal fortification, it may come out and lash out by hurting your brother. It may come out and suppressing your woman. It may come out in ways that you don't even, connect to. So the whole process is to create a safe space where brothers can come together and really work on that socio-emotional body, in addition to their wellness body, and working out and working on their mind. And I told the last formation, I told the brothers, I said, listen, if you're from the Nation of Islam, I need you to be the most powerful Muslim you can in the next 7 days. If you're from, the Nation of Gods and Nerds, you need to be the powerful God. I don't care what you call yourself. We're going to take that, pour into you these tenets, so you can be the best version of yourself, sovereign to you. That way your relationships become a holistic complement to who you truly are.
Yeah.
And you're no longer a stranger to yourself, chasing the beauty of your woman. Well, you're beautiful too, black man. You know what I'm saying? You need to turn on that light. We talked earlier about the house. In ancient Kemet, one of the many names of the pharaohs was the Nasut, the kings. Another word is the Paheru, which means the lighthouse, the house of light, which is also a reflection of the head Heru, the light of the householder. So the Paherus, the Nasut, you have to turn on your light. To turn on is an action. You know what I'm saying? That means you have to do something. So if I'm turning on my light, that means I have to be conscious that I have to be a doer, which goes back to what we said earlier segment about using the plow, being a worker. So it's really about encouraging our brothers to wherever they are at in their growth and development, just giving them the excitement to want to repair himself. You know what I'm saying? So he can now better attract in the world. And even if he's in a current relationship, baby's mother or wife, if a man's taking sacred time, like Queen mentioned earlier, taking his spiritual baths, taking his gold water, you know what I'm saying?
Definitely
Right, taking his gold water, taking his Mars, taking his mega greens, right? Really nourishing himself. And this every 7 days of 19, we give brothers tasks that they have to complete. The first week is called the family man of unity and wealth. So we tell brothers to write down what is your vision in your understanding of what that means for you. And then when you come back to the formation, you're going to share that vision with your brothers, so we can bear witness to the God in you voicing that, right? Another thing is, before you even do that assignment, we have an assignment called write a forgiveness letter to yourself. So go through a meditation, just get some quiet time. If it's a time in your life where you felt the most abandoned, the most neglected in your journey, you right now, what would you say to that version of yourself, just to give you a reassurance? So kind of like doing that intertransitional time journey to yourself, hugging yourself and showing yourself that now that you're working to take action to turn you on, right? You got you in the future, and just by doing that, beloved brother, so many brothers, said, they wept. Some brothers said it was hard to write it, but they wrote it, and they were able to face themselves.
Right.
And the more we can just create exercises and accountability for brothers to do things like that, it's like it's revolutionary. Because
that's
he's
key.
awakened.
Because not to cut your wisdom, but when it comes to like relationships, people don't really want to do the work, especially like unrepaired ones, right? And you can do it for the child, but you got to do it for yourself first. You can't do it for nobody else. You understand me? And I think what happens all the times and why a lot of change don't last is we do it for everybody else but ourselves.
Right.
Right? If you get in a relationship with somebody and then maybe she wants to start changing for you or doing some things, but then when she gets into another relationship, she changes into another person, right? Instead, you have to find out reasons to do things for yourself, because that's going to last regardless of who you with, whether you by yourself or you with someone else. That's a true change, right? A true evolution. And I think that, you know, we've gotten very good in society at just shape shifting, you understand me, from one person to another, making everybody feel comfortable without actually knowing ourselves. And the healing process is such a lost art as well, that we don't know how to heal from the smallest things.
Yeah.
And so instead of, you know, healing through things, we try to ignore them. You understand me? And see if we can just go through them instead of actually heal through them.
Right.
You understand me? And I think that that's something, especially when I see baby mothers and fathers, and oftentimes people regret that they didn't make it work, or regret that this person went on to be successful without them, or regret that they were immature to not see what they had, or
Right.
regret the fact that they slept with each other and weren't mature enough to think about consequences.
Right.
And they start blaming each other. They take all of that fire that starts to build up and they throw it at each other and they blame each other for all of the issues. And so that forgiveness, I know, first starts with accountability. You know, that when you take a look around 360 at your situation, that all of this is manufactured by your own actions. You know, and that may be hard for people to swallow. They say, well, this person did this, that, and the third. Well, those are not things you can control.
Right.
The one thing you can control is accountability for where you are right now.
Absolutely.
And in this moment, if you become accountable, then you take extreme ownership. And through extreme ownership, now you have extreme control.
Absolutely.
You have that ability to release yourself from the contracts that hold you. Because trauma is like a contract, it's stuck in you until you release yourself. But without reviewing it, you don't even know what's in the contract. You don't know what binded you to that pain in the first place. And you constantly relive it. And so sometimes a person's physical presence becomes a trigger just within itself, right? Because that might have been the last relationship where you made the most mistakes. You understand me? But instead of taking internal accountability, that person is a representation. It was their fault, not mine. I didn't do anything. I wasn't immature, and it's the same thing relationships, to where we also get into them sometimes, and it's like, people have to think they have to hate their ex, you know, and I think that's a sad and it's toxic. That almost everybody is somebody's ex. You understand me? It's, some people that matured, that did better and living better, but there's an immaturity in society where people feel like they can't, you know, be happy for this person that progressed and now is treating someone else better. You understand me? But that's the selfishness, and that's a narcissism that exists. So I got a question that probably, you know, is not asked a lot for women, right? But do women have an ego? Because I don't think that society ever deals with the reality. Because we talk about men all the time. You know what I'm saying? We already did that. We're gonna go more. But the reality of it is this, though, and especially in the way of today's society, where women are climbing in the job sector and the business sector and becoming more successful in the man's world, right? They're at the top of these companies, political positions, and things of that nature. And I know that requires a masculization of self, which also requires an ambition and requires an ego. But not only, the question is twofold: do they have an ego, and what do feminine narcissism look like?
You said about edging God out or edging the Most High out. It's not about domination of your masculine side or your feminine side.
Right.
It's about bringing them together.
Right.
It's Ast. She sits on her seat of power. Asar, within you, the masculine side, sits on his seat of power within us. We have the right brain. That's the place of creativity and meditation and prayers, intuition. And then we have the left side of us that brings the finance and creates an environment of a home. And that's inside of us. If you don't become sovereign within yourself, then you're just going to recreate the same relationship outside of yourself that is out of balance again. So it's really not the fault of outside. The relationships are all extensions of our consciousness, of our thoughts, of our feelings, of our lack, of our abundance. So if you keep blaming on the outside, you'll always be disempowered. It is to the journey of the rites of passage in the form of sacred woman may heal thyself is medicine. You need your medicine. That's why you're upset. You don't have your proper medicine. People are medicating on drugs, alcohol. They're numbing themselves out as opposed to wakening themselves up in each gateway. So if you start to take, okay, Let me heal me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to look at you and you and my past and what's going on now. I'm going to take time out, not out, but time in. So in the time in, I heal my womb. So I don't have fibroid tumors, I don't have cysts, I don't have chronic bleeding and pain.
Which may lead to the attitudes and the mood swings of why
Yeah.
she's lashing out on her man because she's
Right, she's
internally
got all
suffering.
that sickness in
Right,
her womb.
right.
She goes into the teachings of that gate. Then she goes into Hootie. What is she saying? For what she's saying is what she is creating. She's creating the environment from even the deadly environment of thinking the thoughts of anger and rage and pain inside. So what is she speaking out into the world? What is she speaking to her children? What is she speaking to her home? Okay. Then she goes in, that's word medicine. That's womb medicine. Then you have food as medicine, and you learn how to eat foods from the garden, so you find your inner peace. You find your inner prosperity, and then you go into movement as medicine. I have developed a form of womb yoga dance, or womb ka'at, where I teach women how to use their bodies to open up and unlock the treasure chest inside of us. So we get unstuck, and that's our medicine. And then we go to our inner child as medicine, because beauty is not just out, beauty is from within. But if you're so angry from the little 7-year-old girl who might have suffered by the hand slap or curse or yell or incest, you grow into a teenager, still sick, and an adult woman. So you go into that inner child so you get tap into your true beauty. And from gateway to gateway of finding ma'at, of waking up that second power of healing, of tapping into your power and using your meditation to see your vision and make it a reality, to coming out of the mud of Nefertum, out of the mud through fasting, cleansing, washing. You come out of the mud. I don't give you a pole dancer. You're working in clubs. You're cursing people out. You're on drugs. It's okay. You're going to purge and wash. You're going to come up to the top of that well. You're going to what? Blossom. And then you just keep going until you get into Meshkinet. And you hold on to your bricks, your purpose. And then you bear down and you birth yourself. And yourself will bring you your wealth. So going from gateway to gateway to gateway, that is how you become a whole woman. And as you become a whole woman, you'll attract a whole man. You'll attract whole, healthier children, because all your children, what I learned about children is that they're all the things of the thoughts.
You can, a woman can only attract a whole man if a man is working on becoming whole.
But she'll also identify if he's not whole, because she
Right.
can recognize.
Well, I
what she
want to
created.
emphasize that point. Yeah, like, you know,
absolutely.
because there's a lot of brothers that who are attracted to women who are doing their sacred work, but they're not necessarily trying to do the transformation. So they attract them, and women, the ability to read a man, can probably see something in him that can be blossomed one day. Hence, if he does the work.
If he does the work.
Right.
So they'll come together in a union based upon what she thinks could be a possibility, not necessarily where he may physically be, mentally, emotionally be. So they engage. So he's attracted to her because he says, "But this woman is dynamic, she's phenomenal.
She's
She's
the one.
in a culture.
Right,
she's,
right.
You know, she comes from the nation. She comes from a single woman. So he's already attracted to that, not knowing that really, if he's willing to do his work, she's a reflection of him. She is that other side of the polarity.
So I have a question directly related to that, submission, right? Where does submission come into play for the masculine and feminine? Because I know that this probably is another huge issue nowadays is women either don't believe in submission or don't know how to, right? And men don't believe in submission, but also don't know when they should submit, you understand me, or even if they should ever submit. So what is your take on submission?
God. It has to be the Most High. It has to be Allah. It has to be in turn. It has to be God. It has to be Jehovah. The submission, right? If I know that my woman is hosting the goddess head,
Come on.
I'm submitting.
talk.
What happens when the queen knights the warrior? He gets on his knees. She takes that sword and she knights him into his deployment to go defend the kingdom. He's submitting to the majesty of God, the Godhead in her. So he kneels before the queen humbly, and him kneeling before God in her, she's knighting the God that she sees in him. She raises him up, and he goes deploy in the spirit of God. See, it's what you say is Islam, it's mathematics, which is ma'at. If we're working, back to the plow, if we're workers based upon the glyph, the symbol of the ancients, if we're out here working and putting in work of ourselves, and she's working on her Godhead, and I'm working on my Godhead, I will submit and humble because God will bless upon me the active duty tenant.
So is she submitting to the God? Oh, so he submits to God. She submits to the God within him that he's submitting to, and then is he submitting to the nurturer of that God to bring it outward?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, people,
It's
I
just
want
a-
to
no,
know.
yeah.
I don't know if y'all caught that. In my head, I be seeing stuff.
No, it's exactly.
So I want to slow it down for a second.
Slow down.
So it's like, all right, so like a man without a mission or vision don't need a woman, right?
Right.
What he's submitting to, because you know, Muslim means one who submits his or her will to do the will of God, right? So a Muslim is supposed to submit their will to God. So your ability to produce and move and your will as far as how you move throughout reality and motion as a human being, that's your willpower, right? And if you submit that, so now for your movement and your mission is all for God, and that God is that goodness, that higher consciousness, and divineness. So if a man is in movement of that, then she sees that. Then he tells her, like, this is what I'm submitting to. This is my vision. And she said, oh, I like that. As long as you on that mission, I can, because the woman has all the cosmic ingredients to give birth to anything.
Absolutely.
She can provide all of the nurturing necessary in order for you to complete that.
Absolutely.
So as he's submitting here, you understand me? She's submitting to what he submits to, mostly, but through him, right? And then he's internally taking back and saying that you have the power to help me produce that godhood and that mission outward into reality. So there's a reciprocal effect that goes in,
both of them, yeah.
and then that's where the respect lies. You understand me? But there's too many men that have no mission, no vision, nothing they submit to, and then they want someone else to submit to them.
Right.
You understand me? And then there are women that don't know how to nurture anything. They only know how to take from something, not how to help something produce more. And I think that that's the lost balance in art in the reality of human beings, but specifically men and women, because now we make it a combat rather than partnership.
Well, to your point, Keys, because that is, so it's we build with our brothers as master problem solvers. Everything you need is in you. You know what I'm saying? You're a master problem solver. That goes with the Queen said earlier with you about it's all about the rites, you know, the rites of passage, making sure that, of course, our people had an interruption and we didn't have intergenerational rites of passages. So, and now in the wilderness of the West, right, and wherever we may be in the diaspora, we have to set up these different modalities of rights to realign us, you know, to the original intent. You know, this is what you're doing in business and economics. You're getting us back into the abundance consciousness. That's a rites of passage. When you say, brothers, join this, sisters, join this, you're giving us access to, you know, what the rites of passage is necessary for us to do power work, you know what I'm saying, in 3D, in Web 3, right? So the same thing happens, you know, what Queen's talking about with Sacred Woman and helping these sisters remember, you know what I'm saying, why the power, what is the power of nurturing, you know? And what I'm talking about with the brothers is taking accountability, you know what I'm saying, to begin to heal past a lot of that wound thing that you've been carrying for your whole manhood, address him so you can be a better version of yourself. Right. So we can support each other through these modalities and make no excuses, you know what I'm saying, to make those commitments. It bursts us in a new possibility.
Absolutely. You know, we did Infinite Wealth Strategies, and one thing at the beginning of it, I had my sister come in. My sister came and taught a class about healing through your trauma to produce that businesswoman inside. Because one thing I know for a lot of women that come into the programs a lot of time is they have so many traumas that they can learn the information, they can grasp it, they got it mastered, but they can't produce, they can't give birth to anything. And you know, I believe that it's the trauma and the unhealed parts of self that doesn't make the womb work properly, right? And, you know, I speak upon womb intelligence, right? That a man's womb, because we only have one womb. A woman has two. She got the mind and she has the womb, right? So she can produce physical children, a reality that men would not know anything about, right? We can only empathize, you understand me, and be happy it's not us going through it. You understand me? We appreciate y'all for doing that. Well, it looked like we'd be no children here. But, you know, womb, that sacred womb power, I want to harp on that for a second, because every woman across this planet Earth is walking around with this power untapped. Not every single woman, there's a lot of women walking around untapped. And there's an infinite intelligence that's connected to the womb intelligence. We talk about gut intelligence, heart intelligence, brain intelligence, but womb intelligence is not something we talk about because it's often men that create the academia that breaks down the psychology connected to all these different scientific fields. So, you know, there's not too many women that empowers women with that understanding. And then in your interpretation, right, what is the power of the womb, not just in the creation of children, right, but in the manifestation of things that lay in the imagination?
I look at it, well, first on the level of submitting. I submit to the divine presence of the Most High.
Right.
And I don't see the man as the head. I don't see the woman as the head. I think if you wake up and you come up at 4 o'clock in the morning and you pray and you meditate and you get a vision, and then you bring it to the family, and if the family's in tune, they will receive it. That can come from the feminine principle, it can come from the masculine principle. And if we stay in tune one to another, it's an ocean, it's an ebb and flow of respect, of honor. You have this, I have that, I'm picking up this, you picking up that, and then we move that energy together. And that, to me, is the submission to the divine presence that's in every cell of the woman and in every cell of the man.
That's all we're saying.
And that's superpower to
Now,
me.
on that one, so in circumstances, right,
Yes.
each one of us, men and women, have different abilities in different circumstances. So it's like, let's say protection, right? That's where a man automatically is gonna lead. You understand me? Like, she might have ideas about this, but sis, let me take care of this. This is where my superpowers kick in, right? And so, because I know in today's ideas of relationship, you know, not having any roles is what people like. Because I think it's more so there's no responsibility in that. We can just be fluid and flow with the reality of things. And I believe that you have an intelligence and an understanding and the concept that you just broke down that made me relate to the masses, and they may be like, oh, I love what she just said, but I don't think there's no real interpretation of understanding there, right? Because the way they're going to interpret is through ego. You understand me? Like, no, I'm this, I get this say, I get that. And it's like, well, there's certain areas that men lead and women lead better. You understand me? Like, we don't have emotional experience, right? We may have emotional intelligence, right, to be able to cipher through our emotions sometimes, but we don't actually have that much experience dealing with our emotions because we ignore them, right? And I was taught rise above emotions into the thinking of God, but to rise above them, you have to go through them in order to rise above them, not ignore them. Like, you kind of like push them off to the side, and they think that's rising above. So you go through your whole life with a lack of emotional experience. And I think that that's why a lot of men don't understand their feminine side, right? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad say 75% of the work is with the woman, yet he wrote Message to the Black Man, but he said most of it was for the woman. But he gave a breakdown that man was mind. And so when he spoke on it, he didn't speak on it from, at least from my interpretation, from a patriarchal standpoint, but from the core of what the energy was, right? So that every household has a mind. Right, I do believe in the God-triarch, man and woman working side by side. You understand, to be able to build and produce outward, right? Instead of a matriarch or a patriarch. I think throughout reality, we've tried both systems and we ended up with the world that is current, right? I think that if it was perfect, you understand me, then the world would have produced perfection, right? But at some point in time, civilizations, rulerships, you understand me, and regardless of what civilization you go to, we ended up where we are today. So I think that it requires us to take a look at this thing and say, all right, you know, if we want to build a better world, then we have to have a better system, right? And I believe, of course, 100% that women are the key, right? That, you know.
We are the key.
100% the key.
I believe that we collectively, because otherwise we're fighting amongst each other within ourselves. So the feminine principle has to protect also. She can protect by saying, don't go there. I picked up a message. I picked up a signal. Don't pick up that phone. Don't go out. That's the feminine principle of protection. The masculine's gonna come out there with a sledgehammer and take somebody out. So sometimes it's necessary to go there. So it's like knowing the vibration, the frequency of what you're working with. Everybody gotta kick in. It ain't about just me gonna stand there and just let it happen. It's not about him being unconscious and saying, well, what's happening, just go crazy. We have to actually bring both left and right brain together to protect one another, to protect our families.
Absolutely.
So that's how. Now, on the womb,
But hold on, before we go to the womb, because you said something about intuition, right? That woman's intuition is that protecting God, right? Like a man may have a big vision, but she has the details. You know what I mean, that's often what I think about. And often why like a woman may see things that you may not see within yourself. You may be moving a certain way, you be like, you know, I often use like, you could have not had the tooth or your toothbrush in the right cup or something, and she noticed there's something off on him right now. She see the details, something going on. Where he like, you tripping off that, I'm on this, like, but I know you're not aligned. But and I believe that is connection with the womb intelligence, that intuition. And I think that men in today's time may be a lot of disconnected with the intuition because we regard feminine only as the replication of what a woman does rather than the connection of our own energy and source, right? So the feminine aspect, when you talk about protection, I think that was so powerful because that's the understanding I'm talking about when you're breaking down those details and then a person can see how that harmonizes and works.
Let me add on to while y'all along with
Add on.
protection. Well, let's go to Kemet. He's about to go to Kemet. So the crown of Tutankhamun or Amen-Ra Tutank, King Tut.
The 19-year-old king.
Right, 19, right? The crown, the Nimbus crown, right? Talking about protection.
Yeah.
Well, what's on the crown is the goddess of the south and the north, Nekhbet, and Wajet. So that's the vulture, and that's the cobra. So the reason why you see the vulture and cobra on King Tut's first eye or above his crown was to symbolize that he has the protection of a goddess head from the south and the north, which is Smai-Tawi, unification of both lands, upper and lower. So not only the lands, but the way the position of the cobra in the vulture position is showing the polarity of the female energy protecting his consciousness from external, coming into his mind. So I just wanted to add that to y'all when you said about protection and the power of protection. Yeah, Ashe.
Now I would like to do some impeccable listening about this womb. You know what I'm saying? Hey. This episode is brought to you by Gold Water. So, not only are we getting to this point where we're going to talk about womb intelligence, and I really want people to pay attention to this. Like, watch with your kings, your queens. Give us the 5 stars. My show producer told me to do this, but it's serious. We got to do #1 globally, right? Raise the consciousness all across the planet Earth. All right, back to us. We can keep it real. I want them comment. I want them 5 stars. You feel me? I want to get to the top of this thing.
Comment, like, and subscribe, family.
Yeah.
Each one teach one,
Yeah.
each one reach one.
Yeah.
Get ahead and run them numbers up.
Yeah, first way to prepare your baby mama and baby daddy relationships.
Come on, let's go.
Subscribe to that high level conversation.
Subscribe, comment,
You know you're doing
like,
some work.
and share. We want you to do all the action steps,
like,
right?
share.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
it's important. No, it's important to give them the commandment, right? Because we are passing the high level conversation to you, and if you join us in a high level conversation and you're excited about it, now you go take this high level conversation to your homes, your households, your sisters, your brothers, everybody that needs it, and then give them the assignment. Let them get this high level conversation and pass it on, and we just keep making this the new norm of us having high level conversations. So,
Yes.
to Brother Key's point, let's do that. Ashe.
All right, we got the housekeeping. Now let's get to this womb intelligence. You understand me? I didn't ask this question yet, but so the 2-part question is, what is feminine and what is womb intelligence?
Feminine is the receptivity. It is the womb. It's being open. It is intuitive. That's the feminine principle. And, well, womb intelligence is about birthing. And I see the womb as 3 energy centers. It's a prayer. Awaken the womb of the mind for what we think, we birth, we create. Awaken the womb of the heart for what we feel, we birth, we create. Awaken our seat of creation for what we think and what we feel, we birth through our seat of creation. That is the alignment. There are some women who have had a hysterectomy already, and they come into Sacred Woman and they come in broken, just a thought, but they don't have a womb physical. But I said, even when the body leaves physically, the spirit is always there. If the womb has been removed due to life's challenges and you don't have the information how to keep your womb whole, you still have the spirit of the womb. And in that spirit of the womb, you can birth anything. When I have books, I look at them as my babies. I carry them in my womb of my mind, my heart, my information, my knowledge, and then I bring them out. It's the same as conceiving children. Take the child in, carry the child, then go through the birth canal, the baby returning ancestor comes out, and then you take that child and you breastfeed and you nurture and you grow that child to be strong and healthy and vibrant. Thank you, Supernova.
Ashe, thank you, Mom. Thank you. I appreciate you.
So I also
And
want to talk
that's the power
about
of the womb.
this book, Impeccable Listening. As you talk about the utility of womb intelligence is being able to birth things like feminine energy births, right? Men, we don't give birth, right?
They give birth to concepts and ideas
Concept,
and
womb,
vision.
yeah, mental
mental
womb
womb,
birth.
right, yeah.
But that's also, that womb is still the feminine aspect.
Yeah.
You understand me? Because where we birth from is our subconscious area.
Absolutely, yeah.
You can tell yourself do something now, but we can't always give our subconscious a command.
Right.
We're not that in tune. It has to be a frequency that we're connected with, because there's a lot of things we want to birth,
Right.
but only what we're in tune with we actually give birth to. You understand me? And
That
so
part.
from that darkness of that womb, yes, that's the feminine. And I think when we talk about feminine, I think in society, like when a man thinks about tapping into their feminine side, especially in Hollywood, they think that, well, if I dress like a woman or wear a
Right.
purse or paint my nails or wear a wig, then I'm tapped into my feminine side, because the connection is feminine is woman. They don't tap into the intuitive, the imagination, the
Right. The
creativity,
creativity, right.
right, the self-care, their emotional intelligence and experience. That's not their connection with the feminine side. So there's a lot of lack of understanding what that energy already is that you have. It's not, oh, let me go wear pink today so I'm
Right.
connected to feminine. It's like, what about being tapped into your emotional side and having empathy for other human
Absolutely,
beings?
yeah,
Right?
absolutely,
And hygiene and cleaning and right, nurturing things and forgiving people and
Yeah.
things of that nature.
Yeah.
That's feminine, right?
Yeah.
So like when I do art, to me, all expression to me is feminine.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's there's the logic of it. There's like the pure mathematics, and then there's the rhythm of it.
Yeah.
Right? And to me, the styling of what you do is the feminine aspect of it.
Right.
So there's plenty of feminine already, but we don't know how to regard them, which is feminine and which is masculine. So often we don't even know we're doing feminine things.
Right.
And then so when we speak upon feminine principles, a woman feels attacked because they say, well, you said this wasn't masculine, that was feminine. I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about just the feminine energy itself.
Right, right.
Right? And so, we take ownership of the masculine and we take ownership of the feminine, but we don't know when we are connecting and in harmony with either or both. And so that's why I like to, as much as I can, try to define things for people, because we get lost to our own interpretations, which are usually without study. You understand me? And that guides us
Right.
for better understanding, right? But I had another question, about this impeccable listening. Listening improves communication, right? I know that for a fact, that, part of communicating is listening,
Yeah.
right? Because oftentimes when we are speaking to people, we're only just waiting for our turn to rebuttal, right? But we're not actually internalizing the messages that we're receiving.
Right.
And not only when we're listening to people, listening to divine. You understand me? Like, I always tell people, like, going in a place by yourself and sitting in quiet, that's the ultimate way where you can start gaining control. But not only that, listening to your most original self. Because we're so drowned out with the world and the thoughts and man's machinations, the noises of cars, you understand me, and everything, but we never listen to God, or observe God by going into nature and looking at the hue and sun gazing, or stepping into nature and listening to the birds chirping at different frequencies, or just sitting alone, because most people are afraid of that internal voice, right? They're afraid of the images, the memories, the insecurities that exist when they're alone and they have to sit with themselves. So they drown it out through social rhythms. So I want to talk about the different layers of listening, right? Because when we talk about listening, we often think just human to human, but what about the internal and then the external listening to God? How do we start to listen to divine source more? And how do we know when we're listening to something that's righteous, or it might be what's known as that devil on our shoulder guiding us in the wrong direction?
It takes practice.
Yeah.
It takes sometimes falling on your face a lot. And when you fall, that's a great time to start to listen. That's when you can really reflect and you say, oh, okay, how did I get on this ground again? How did I lose everything? How did things work against me as opposed to for me? In that moment is when you get some of your greatest enlightenment. And then when you ask the question, how did I get here and how do I get back up? And if you're ready, because when you're down, you're ready to hear. It's when you get back up, you get boastful, I got it together. But when you're down, there's a reason why you're down. Some things you did, you missed a step. You hear, you ask the question, how did I get here? That's the first thing. Take a deep breath. I got here because I didn't care for myself. I didn't love myself. You start, and it's going to start coming to you. And you're going to say, how do I stand up again? How do I overcome now? Cleanse, fast. You know, you'll start to get information. Now, you can ask the question, but if you don't listen, you practice listening. If you hear it, but if you don't do what you just heard, because you're going to get an information, you're going to get guidance. And at that open moment, then you move with it, and then you'll say, I trusted myself. I did it. Things start to open up. Things start to break through. So then you scribe it. You record. Say, that is how this book came, all the books take me years to write, to channel. This book took me 12 weeks. It's unheard of. It only came from a question. I said, how do we end world suffering? That's my question. I asked you a year and a half ago when the pandemic hit. And as soon as I asked the question, it said, the divine in me said, impeccable listening. I said, I said, what is impeccable listening about? And then I started to ask about impeccable listening. Impeccable seeing, impeccable words, impeccable movements, which means you're moving in divine right order. You have been given instruction from the divine. You can feel it, you can know it, you can sense it, and then you move on it. So you ask how, but where's my finance? Where's my mate? Where is my home? How should I live? How do I end this cancer? How do I, you're gonna get information. It's not only gonna come from what you're seeing, it's gonna come, somebody's gonna show up. It seems like out of nowhere, but it's not out of nowhere, it's from within inside of you. You ask the question, the person showed up, and you're clear, you can say, oh, this person come give me the message I asked for this morning, and now it's coming right now. You start to track it. What this impeccable listening did, it had me to track myself. When I first heard impeccable listening, I didn't know it until this book was written. I said, wait a minute, my first experience impeccable listening, I was 16, 17 years of age. I had chronic asthma, allergies, hay fever, PMS, and everything. And I got off a bus, and there was grass, trees, and everything. There was herbalists, there was natural people back in that day. And I got off the bus to have this healing retreat, and I heard for the first time, because the asthma kicked in, I didn't have my medication, I didn't have my drugs. I didn't have a way out, so I thought. And I put my bag down, the wheezing kicked in, the stress kicked in. What am I gonna do? I heard, eat grapefruits, lemons, and oranges. Now I'm like looking around, and I looked to my left, there was a cafeteria, there was a bowl of fruit. I picked up a grapefruit, I picked up a lemon, I picked up water. And that whole day, I didn't know, I was impeccably listening. I fasted the entire day. I heard a wise man, Dr. Johnny Moore, master herbalist for over 50 years. He was talking about holistic healing and natural healing by cleansing. And I said, who is this man? But I was impeccably guided over to stand before him as he was speaking. And that night, the Most High, if you lay down, your lungs are gonna collapse. You have no medication. So I sat up, my pillows like I'm on the sofa. There was a fireplace. I was led to sit in front of a fireplace. I didn't know that was my sweat lodge. I didn't know that that day of having just water and limes and lemons, that was my first fast. And then I went to sleep and I woke up, sitting up, and went to the bathroom before the day started, and then mucus drained out of my body for about an hour. That was the asthma. That was the allergies. That was the hay fever. That was the PMS. That was my toxic thoughts, my doubt, and my fear. And when I came out, I said, wait a minute. There is a connection to what I'm putting in my body. I can get well because the asthma stopped without my drugs, without an injection, without a pump. And then I picked up a book. I was impeccably led. Dick Gregory, Cooking with Mother Nature. I picked up that book. That became my personal Bible.
Did you know Dick Gregory?
Yes, we've done some work together. I'm like this to him, a student.
Yeah.
And I went home with his family of 9 children and the wife. And they became my family through the readings. That was the impeccable listening. And I reflected as I was writing the book. That was my first stage of impeccable listening, hearing. And then I started to reflect on all the moments I was impeccably listening, and then the moments that I did not listen, and then I had to suffer. And sometimes you go down the rabbit hole of not listening, of not tuning in, of wanting to do it your way, but your way is not the way. So I've learned that's the beauty of age. I have learned to listen impeccably. And when I listen impeccably, I let go of whatever's not serving me.
Yeah.
And I embrace what is real according to the instructions given from out of my dreams, my visions. I hear it in the morning. From walking, as you said, in nature. You can see it. Your eye, not just these eyes, but this eye, the ucha, opens up and you can see the whole world. I see the whole world from here because I'm listening and I'm looking for the cues and the messages and the signs and the signals. It's all around us, everything. You have purple on today and you have gold. So the Most High is saying, look at Nebuchadnezzar.
Wow.
Look at perfection. Look at the house in order. Look at the goal, the high frequency. That is what I'm looking at. But the Creator set it up. What a drama. What a beautiful message of listening and being in tune. And so you said, I did this for you, but I did this for you.
Right.
You know? And so that's the impeccably listening.
Can
and being
I add
in
on to 19? When you go to Kemet, I want to give you this, beloved. You're going to be led because it's going to be people going to be putting you in situations that probably the average folks won't have access to you because of your magnetism, your light. The ancestors will move through them to have you access. When you get to certain rooms and temple areas, like right, then I'm going to give you 3 tones that I guarantee you're going to report to me and Queen how you felt. I want you to take a deep breath with me right now, right? We're going to exhale Ankh, the tone of Ankh, life. So Ankh is the Holy Mother, the Holy Father, and the children. It's the black family, it's the body. It's this. Chant Ankh in the land where Ankh is originated from. Simple. You ain't got to speak the whole to and turn, you got to read the hieroglyphs. You chant Ankh and watch how those walls speak to you, the environment, the people. The next tone we'll give. Let's give him myrrh. We talked about earlier the plow, right? The love. So we want the ancestors to put love on you. We want Allah to grace you with love and everybody with you in safe patches. So we're going to give you the tone of myrrh that we want you to send to the walls when you're there. Breathing in. And that's just the love energy. That's the radiation love. And the last tone we'll give you that you're going to really be charged up because it's hot, it's fully exalted. The Aten Ra, or the light revealed, which is the Ra, the Aten, is we're going to chant Ra. So when I was with my mom 20 years ago there, she was some second woman. We're in the temple of Sekhmet, and we were chanting a prayer for Sekhmet, and we were chanting Ra, right? And then we were there for like 30 minutes, brother. Allah be the witness, the walls started sweating. We were raising that much frequency and energy. And everybody who was just passing by were getting electrified from just the tones. So the third tone we want to charge you with, that we want you to take with you, is Ra. Breathing in. May the way be arranged for you. May you be illuminated. May the light and the sun in you be in tune with the rod light outside of you and illuminate every way of your path and be protected.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Because you're a shining being.
Dwelling
in
in
the
light.
I got 2 last questions and we get out of here. Queen, you have helped a lot of different people. You understand me? Celebrities, figures. I'm sure people I don't even know about, a lot of them. You understand me? You know, I've seen you with Lauren London, Jada Pinkett Smith, Erykah Badu, of course, your sisters. What is it that you give specifically to these women that are in these high positions and of success? What is it that what they seek and that they find when they come to the Queen Mother?
Liberation, freedom. They come out of bondage on different levels. They come out of the spirit of lack and woundedness. They're looking for the heart to heal. That's what they're looking for, broken hearts. Their mothers, many of you said earlier on that the one woman said to me that most women feel unmothered.
That's profound. You said
And I tell them, because, and the reason why is because the mother's not to give you 100%. There's fathers, and there's grandparents, and there's aunts,
it's a village.
and uncles. Takes a village, not just a mother, because you said, I want my mother to give me everything. Whatever I may be missing is all my mother. No, your mother is a part of a family and a community of people. That's why even if someone doesn't have a mate, they're not a single parent. They have a village.
Right.
Tap into your village. That's what I tell them, tap into their village. So there's the women, we're a village of healed women. But we're not isolated from our men. We're a village of healed women looking at our reflection of our men, a village of healed men, and we bring it together. So they're looking for the wholeness. They're not even looking for one part of themselves. They're looking for the whole, their whole being, their body, mind, the spirit. They're looking for their forgiveness.
Yeah.
They're looking to reunite with their own mothers. They're angry at their fathers. So it's a lot of anger because we're stolen, but now we can repair and we can come back together. So I give them hope. And also I give them vitality. Because at my age, you're not supposed to have the vitality. You're supposed to be kind of you know.
You have a child energy.
Yeah, well, I do a little mountain climbing, I do my yoga, I dance, and I'm a biker. So if you do, but I said you don't get lower when you get older. You get better with time. You get more seasoned, you get more divine. So you don't have to be afraid of age. You can embrace age and all the wisdom. I would not give up a moment of the wisdom that I've learned on this journey and the resilience and the overcoming. So I impart to them who they are, that they're great. They're not to bow to me, but I'm here to help lift them up so they can see the divinity within themselves.
Yeah.
And thank you for that work because, you know, those are the mothers that have a lot of power and a lot of energy that they present to the rest of the world. So when you heal leaders, you're healing all those who are led by them as well.
Yeah.
You understand me? And I believe that that's some of the most important work. And then the other question, and then you can give testimonial to this, you raised a son, right? And, you know, I believe your story is similar to mine when I'm younger and growing up in a Muslim household, but at the same time being in the streets, but then finding your way back into your own becoming.
Absolutely.
You know, how do you properly raise a son in today's time? There's a lot of women who are afraid to raise a child or bring a child into this world. You understand me? So specifically as a black mother raising a black son, and, you know, I believe that a lot of boys rebel against their mother because, especially when the father is not there, because you don't want to become your mother. When you look at your father, you want to become your father because you believe that that's my development to become a man. So oftentimes we rebel against what our mother tells us, not that we think is wrong, we just believe that if we listen wholly to everything that our mother tells us, we become like her. So it's a natural rebellion to say that, nah, I know you said do it this way, I'm gonna try it my way though. You understand me? So I can become like my father, because I know he's not listening to you all the time.
He's not doing faithful listening.
He's not doing faithful listening.
Right.
Well, see, I was very clear. I separated from their father, and that was healthy for them, actually, that I separated from the father. And because what we would have been together would have made them sick, right? I woke up and realized, oh, I'm gonna make them really sick if I stay here in this state of consciousness. So in raising them, I seeked out men in the community that were powerful role models. And I remember you were 12 or 13, or going on 13, and I brought him to a radio station to meet Imhotep Gary Bird. And I said, this is my son, Supa Nova. And I said, I need you to charge him. I need you to fortify him. I need you. And then I went to another elder. That was Bob Lord then too. And then I went to another elder that was Kwame Bobby Shangi. And I went to Suno Uncle Asamar Sepata, and he actually took the training with him back as a child, right? So I was very conscious. Go here, you need to get this information. Go over here, you need to be charged over here. Then over here, you go over here. So I was on a mission to make him whole. I have 2 sons, to make them whole, and I have a daughter. So it was that mission. And so I always said, that's why he would say, I also put him in cultural schools. I said, you're not gonna lose your soul in this world. And the schools were raising them. They also vegetarian lifestyle, so the lifestyle was consistent to my lifestyle. I think he went to Shechem and Shechem school for some years. So I went to various schools of the same consciousness that I had, and that would help. Because you can send your child to a regular school and come back, you don't know who they are. They don't know who they are. They can get lost. Yeah. And someone else putting whatever in their mind that is not anything to do with their wholeness. So it's the village. I tapped into the village. And see, back in the 60s, that's what we were doing anyway. We were looking for our liberation. We were looking for our healing. The Black nationalist movement was there. It was all the culture was starting to just swell up. And I was in the midst of all of that. And so I just gave that over to my children.
And with all of that being said, I still went into the rites of passage of the streets. Mainly to 19 Key's point about the father. You know, my father at the time, when my mother and him divorced, he made his descent from his, you know, God, King ascent into crack cocaine. So, you know, on the weekends I'm in the projects with visiting him, and, you know, he went from selling to using and have that, and then back with mom with everything she just said. So people only see her and see that side of me based upon her. Not knowing that my father, you know, I tried to emulate that early in when I hit my teens, you know, chasing chasing his descent. You know, I was just attracted to the streets, you know, so I started hustling. I started, I didn't do the drugs, hustling drugs because he was, you know, he succumbed to the crack cocaine. But I would, you know, illegal firearms, selling that and boosting and making a lot of money like that as a young man until I almost lost my life, you know, and gang banging and that culmination, it could have been worse, but everything she mentioned to you, 19, to pour into me and sit me in an environment, that was all in me, even though I was going through the rites of passage in the street. Right, that light was still on me, you know? And I think that's ultimately why I was able to survive too. And come, like they say, prodigal son, you come home back to yourself. So I was able to make that solar rotation back into myself. And then everybody that I experienced the lower side of myself in the streets with, once I came back into my, you know, my original intent, now I had the experience of being in the streets. I had the foundation I came from, and then the mission became for me really to unify that hood, you know, and heal the hood, and really to take my work now in the polarity of trying to help reach out to other brothers and sisters who are still.
Man Heal Thyself come.
Man Heal Thyself is the culmination of many steps. So once I came back to my knowledge of self, the first task at 18 I did was called Unify the Hood, Heal the Hood. On the East Coast, I'm really known with the G's, with the gangs, you know, and so there's a lot of gang mediation in my city, you know, and up and down the East Coast. So I was responsible for bringing thousands of brothers together, you know, to form some types of ways to pour back into themselves. Yeah. Heal the hood, unify the hood. It was like, okay, we got unity, but brothers are still not loving themselves. So that's when I said, okay, the holistic side. So I started to, you know, teach brothers about the holistic intention, about body, mind, spirit, responsibility. So all of that culminated into what Man Heal Thyself is about. It's like, okay, so now it's wellness warrior, you know, taking that where the thug and the gangster would be one signal that we go to. Let's take that same warrior spirit and heal him up, give him those tools. Let's take him deeper into his chamber of accountability so he can be a powerful warrior for himself and a better service for his women, his children, and his work in the world. So all that journey, you know, allowed me, if I didn't go into my father's, you know, gravitational pull at that young age, I don't think I would have been able to receive the responsibility that is, you know, that was knighted on me from moms to do this healing work.
That's beautiful. You know, Tupac once talked about how, you know, he got thug like tatted on his chest, but he said, you know, I'm always be thug life. It's like the same way you get a diploma.
Right.
You know what I mean, just because you go to college don't mean you no longer don't have your diploma,
Right.
but you graduate at some point in time.
Absolutely.
And that graduation means you go into a higher degree.
Yeah.
You understand me? And I believe that, you know, you go from, you know, trying to be a gangster, but the true gangster is the one that take care of his family, take care of his neighborhood, feed everybody around, making sure everybody's safe and protected and solid. You know, we misconstrued the idea of gangster, and we only took the part of violence and corrupted it and used that against each other. But when you're talking about being able to be in the environment, but to be opposite of it requires a different type of strength. Because then that's when people are looking at you for you going against the curve. Instead of out in your uniqueness and saying, you know, I'm a vegan, right? Or, you know, just any other forms of expression that's outside the normal conditions of what's in the hood. You feel me? And that requires a different type of elevation and a different type of mental fortitude. You know, growing up in the hoods of America, being the only black family on the block everywhere we grew up, that none of the kids in the environment ever understood that. Having a different dietary restriction, we don't eat pork or things of that nature, none of them understood that. We literally are in neighborhoods with children, we got different gods there. You understand me? And so there's a power that's said and that I see resonating today that doesn't exist the same way, mostly because communities don't exist in the same manner. But that rite of passage, especially when you can spark those conscious seeds younger, you understand me? A man may go through his rites of passage, may get off, but people ask me all the time, when did you start your journey? And like I say, it wasn't that where I started, you understand me? It's where I picked back up at. You understand me? Because I really got lost along the way, and then I was re-sparked, you understand me, to find myself, and here I am again. But I can show you proof when I was on it when I was a child, but when I made a conscious decision to be on this for myself, then that's what you see in front of you now.
Absolutely.
But in between that, I don't look like my journey. You understand me? And I had to go through that same journey of impeccable listening. Listening to Allah, listening to a source, give me guides and tell me what to do, and me not always understanding it, but still submitting and saying, all right, I'm gonna try that, I'm gonna do that. And it worked out every single time. Because what you call impeccable listening, I call high level observation. Being able to see and hear exactly what you need and what the universe is providing for you, and taking those signs as directions on where to go next. And every single time it led me to something better and higher. You understand me? And being able to go through that man heal thyself journey for me was not only forgiving everybody within my life, parents, my environment, my brothers, my sisters, the people, everybody, myself, more importantly. I just remember taking a reflection and an overview of all my years in my life, just like mentally going through and traveling through every situation, whether I felt like I was tough or whether I was being a coward in the situation or like I was being good or I was being wrong. I had to look and I had to forgive myself in every situation and be just strip myself naked and be honest. And that allowed me to come back into the present completely healed to move forward. You understand me? So I appreciate you all because the work you do, I believe, allows more development of men and women to grow as whole beings. So thank you all for being on high-level conversations.
19 Keys.
This has been a very powerful, sacred, and healing episode. Make sure y'all tap in. Peace.
Peace, peace. Fantastic bill, beloved.
Absolutely. Great.
Appreciate you, brother.
We're 19 Keys, and this is high-level conversation. Tap in with the guys.
It was extraordinary. Being interviewed, questioned by 19 Keys, he went into my soul. And it was soul to soul. As he was talking, I was seeing images. And I was seeing a future that is so bright and so brilliant because he's seeing what I'm seeing. We're seeing the same thing. It was Ucha to Ucha, first eye to first eye. And so I am in complete and absolute support of his work and his vision and his team, because I know it takes a team to be successful and to grow us. So I felt what I feel about 19 Keys, that he's growing us and he's tapped in, and the way he was raised, that's part of his fuel. And I see his whole family when I see him.
Absolutely.
And I see our family when I see him. And I also felt the brotherhood between 19 Keys and Supa Nova, I felt a sacred, divine, supernatural brotherhood.
Wellness salute. Yes,
Wellness
to add to Queen, yes, it was a high level conversation. And, you know, the fact that, you know, that's the portal that 19 Keys is fellowshipping all of us on, you know, ciphering the great minds to have high level conversations. That's what's necessary to shift the culture, you know. He's a shifter, right? So to really shift the culture and to have us really move back into our goddess mindset and deploy that with each other in a productive way for growth and development is powerful. And the questions he asked, as he says, you know, the conversation is based upon, you know, bringing you into a general consciousness, and then from that general consciousness, you're sparked to now go and take action and go into the particulars, you know. So you may hear something out this conversation today that we had with 19 Keys, myself and my mother, Queen Afua, and it may it spark you to, like the plow we mentioned in the segment about the ancient Kemetic plow of being the glyph of myrrh, to do the work, to go take this conversation further and do the work. And we also give you an action step about comment, like, and subscribe. Like, so if you love this platform and you love high level conversations, it lives on through the actions of support of others. So what I see from this is I see us continuing these high level conversations, and that you sisters can take these tenets of the sacred womb that Queen was talking about. I invite the brothers to further journey with us with Man Heal Thyself. This is a new book by my mother and myself, Queen Afua. Just really giving brothers the additional tools, body, mind, and spirit, to support him on his personal journey of self-mastery. So continue to have high-level conversations. Wellness Warriors, salute to my beloved brother 19 Keys and team.
Why did I have Queen Afua and Supa Nova Slom on this episode of High Level Conversations? It's because it was necessary that we have a spiritual connection for the culture. And one that not only is a spiritual connection, a soul conversation, one that ties in deep to some of our deep-rooted issues and problems, but also we talked about true masculinity, and I really wanted to get a high-level perspective on femininity, sacred masculinity, divine femininity. And I think we touched on a lot of those different issues and realities. And Queen Afua, she is a mentor. She is a spiritual intelligence that guides some of the highest lights in industries, in Hollywood, and government, and politics, women of all different backgrounds. And she transcends generations, that young women today that are developing themselves on a sacred journey of understanding themselves as a woman in their womb are picking up her book of Sacred Woman, you understand me, and tapping into those rituals and some of that ancient knowledge and going through that healing journey. And if there's one thing I know a sick society needs, that's healing. So they were the perfect response to the reality. And I want to definitely thank Queen Afua and Supa Nova Slom for bringing in a very powerful duo as a mother and a son. And family is a very important topic that we need to tackle, but more so the synergy of family that works in a loving manner to produce success, business, and love. You know, the high-level conversations, kind of when you think about it, you think of things in like a very logical capacity, almost masculine, right? Having these high-level conversations can be seen as masculine because it's more so a spark of logic and intellect, but it's also the necessity of creativity and arts in connection with that. I believe that everything that we do has to be spiritual, right? And it has to be a balance of the masculine and feminine. Now, this conversation happened to be about, you know, the sacred womb and feminine energy and things of that nature, but I want to show and also give a platform for those who have a beautiful expression. You understand me? Because not all of us are intellects, authors, or even just get in front of the camera and speak. Some of us have a divine gift that we can give through a spoken word, a song, you understand me? And I believe that that's some of our greatest forms of spirituality, is that expression of our spirit itself, utilizing our breath, our tonality, and things of that nature. And starting this episode off, specifically this episode, it felt right, you understand me? Because it's ushering in a new era of media in the way that we can do things, because we live in a society that is wholly Eurocentric, and we often follow those templates and models when we want to have success. And we don't always throw in that soul, you understand me? We don't always throw in something spiritual. So it was laying a fertile ground for the seeds that was coming in the conversation, and the poetry was immaculate and it was amazing. Deja J has, when I first seen her, one of her pieces on Instagram, you know, I just thought about highlighting this piece, that, you know, it needs a even more aesthetic connected to it, and I wanted to see it in a certain manner and put it in front of audiences. I think we all have so many different hidden talents, and talents that often deserve to be greater and highlighted, but when she speaks, she has a voice that is speaking directly from an ancestor's ode, you understand me, and directly streaming, you know, and speaking directly to you. And I think that if we heard more of that voice, that compassion, that validity, that authenticity in every day, I think our lives would be a little better, you understand me? And Black women specifically, they have a power to speak directly to your spirit molecule, you understand me, to shift something inside you, to awaken something inside you. So I think that Deja J has a very beautiful future ahead of her, not only with the intellect that she possesses, you understand me, but the poetry, you understand me? The poetry is beautiful. And we the new Def Jam poetry over here, you talking about. Thank you all for listening, you understand me? And we look forward to being able to curate more of the arts and expression and intellect in the form of high-level conversations. I'm 19 Keys, and this is high-level conversation. Tap in with the guy. This episode is brought to you by Gold Water.